Usually the projectors at venues are going to be kind of low quality and broken. And during the event, there might also be a smoke machine going on a pretty heavy setting, which will make the projector output even worse. These are bad conditions for video, but these are also conditions you will encounter doing video work. I'll go over some tools that can help to deal with this situation. Let's go over first something that would probably look good on a low quality projector in a really smoky room. Put this mask and this video of the clouds. Pause this. And I'll put the saturation effect on to take the colors off, but keep the black and white to gray values. There's a clear, recognizable shape, and this also has clear sections of values. So it's bright going to more gray here to a patch of bright. And in the whole image, there's not large areas that are one patch. So there's not a whole section with white and then a whole section with gray. When a projector is sending out light, if the room is full of smoke, then like a smoke machine or a hazer, something like that, there's going to be a bunch of particles in the air. And when the beam of light from the projector hits the particles, then those particles will scatter and send light all around the room. It will be like this kind of effect. You'll be able to see the beams of light going through the smoke in the air from the projector, and it'll send a bunch of light into the room and make this glowy, hazy effect. What that means is that if you're trying to send light to a wall or a screen, then there's less light going straight there because the light is getting bounced all around the room. So you're going to lose details and stuff is going to get more washed out. Then I'll take off the cloud video and go to this video. This effect would still work because it's still a clear, recognizable shape. But even though it's all bright and all one tone, the area of that section isn't so large. For example, with the video of the clouds, this probably wouldn't work. This whole sky here is mostly the same tone. And then in the clouds, there's really large patches that are mostly gray, large areas of white. This whole block of sky here is mostly the same kind of tone. And it's really abstract, washed out, unclear shapes. So on a low quality projector in a smoky room, you might end up with something that's more like this kind of effect, where it looks like a very bright, blurry mess. Having a brightness limiter here at the end of your composition is important for this situation, because if you accidentally send out a video like this, and if you have your brightness level set correctly, then it might be more like sending out something like this and not sending out something super bright like this, where it will be even brighter with all of the smoke in the room. Another example, going back to the clouds, if you're running the video without colors like this, it can sometimes help make the video more clear. Another thing that can help in general is to turn the brightness down a little bit and boost the contrast. Try it out on your own setup and see if it helps. That can generally make the composition look a little bit better, or at least make the colors and the details pop out a bit more. It might not be necessary, depending on the setup. Anyways, if I have the video of the clouds and apply this color filter to it, this is not going to work at all. It's going to look like this. All of the detail is totally going to get washed out. And similar effect for sending out something like this. Even though it's a clear shape, it has too large area of the same tone. This is going to get washed out into this case. And it's going to be like this kind of effect. Also, going at the other side, you can send out details that are too fine and too delicate. Something like this might still work, but if the details get even more fine and delicate like this isn't going to work. Even though it looks clear on the screen, with the projector in those kinds of conditions, you won't be able to see it. It'll probably just be dark. You won't be able to see the output, and it will still be sending a bunch of light into the room, which can disrupt the atmosphere of the event. So something like this might still work. And these details are specifically for situations where it's low quality projectors and smoky conditions in the venue. When you're working with screens, it's different than with projectors. Because with projectors, the light has to go from the projector to the surface, and the beam of light gets scattered by particles in the air between those. With screens, it can be easier to get a clearer picture from the screen because the light source is right behind a sheet of glass, putting the image right onto that. So with screens, it's easier to resolve finer details and do that sort of thing. Another example to this box rotation, this one would work. It's a clear shape. The bright patches aren't so big. And it has clear divisions of gray to dark to bright areas. However, if you made the effect more broken apart into an abstract shape like this, it wouldn't work. The details are likely too fine, but in this case it would be like that. It would probably just be dark and sending extra light into the room. If you use a mask like this, it might work. It might also still get blurry with all of this stuff. There are some general guidelines to consider, but you're going to have to experiment with this yourself and check it at the venue. If you have time during soundcheck and setup, then send some different types of video out and see how they appear. But even that, there might not be a bunch of smoke and hazer machines going. during the sound check. So you'll have to adapt to this during the event. Also, there's going to be a point where there's just too much smoke and haze in the room, and there's nothing you can do. Whatever you send out, it's not going to be visible, and you're going to be only sending more light into the room. In that case, even if you're sending out a solid black image, the projector will still be throwing a bunch of light into the room and illuminating it a lot. So past a certain point, if you can, it's better to turn off the projector and wait for the levels of smoke and haze to go down. Let's check some other examples. These are stock videos that load with Resolume. This one would work. There are clear shapes, and the areas of them aren't so big that they would be getting washed out too much. It's like this is a clear enough shape and not such a large detail that even if it loses some resolution or some quality, this would still be clear. Let's turn off the mask. This one wouldn't work. The details are too fine. This one also wouldn't work. It has too fine of details, and the blocks of color are too much the same color altogether. This would go to this sort of case. It would have these blurry patches, and the fine details wouldn't be resolved. This one would work. Checking the grayscale, then there aren't such large areas of each, of brights or darks. They're more blended together. This one would work very well. They're very clear shapes, and it has clear areas of lights and darks that are next to each other, making a recognizable image. And it doesn't have such fine details to resolve either. This one would also work. It has clear shapes. The bright and dark areas aren't so big, and clear divisions of dark and gray and light. With the saturation off, so sending the colors, this wouldn't work when the colors are flashing. Then it's too much the same sort of tones. So this would go to this case where you would be having this sending out a blurry patch. Turning on the saturation to get rid of the color values like that, this one would work better. It still has a lot of very fine details to resolve though. This one would work. It has clear shapes and also clear divisions of darks to lights, and none of those areas are so big to be taking up too much area. This one wouldn't work at all. This is already muddy colors and already not that clear of an image, and it has very large patches of the same sort of grays and brighter and darker tones. This one would go to this case being a blurry mess. This one would work okay. The brighter areas, the brighter areas aren't too big, and however, it has this large gray area in here. This area might be blurry, and the blur might overlap this and reduce the quality of these edges. On this, the edge shapes would probably be clear, but from this large patch of gray here, it would be sending out a lot of extra light, and this clip would work okay, but not great. This one wouldn't work at all. It's very large sections of gray values that aren't that clear. It's the same sort of trouble as this case. This one would also go to this blurry mess. And this one also wouldn't work. So that was some examples with the Resolume default stock videos. These are general guidelines for dealing with low quality projectors in a Smoky venue.